Hey everyone, it's Bradley. Welcome back to my channel. Portland gentlemen, it's great to have you here today. Today's video is all about the Cannular wrapped can filler. I have this guy, actually I think very early. Key over at Kegland was kind enough to send me this. I've had it for over a month now for review and testing. These aren't really being shipped outside of Australia, and even in Australia, these guys are available in very limited quantities. It is still early days, so thank you so much, Key, and everybody else at Kegland who made this happen. I really appreciate you. Research it, mash it, boil it, ferment it, drink it, analyze it, share it. Home brewing is good. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty of this guy here right next to me, I do have several other videos on canning and can fillers in general. So if you want to check those out, there will be links above somewhere where you can give those a look. But definitely stick around to the end of this one. There's a lot of interesting nuance and detail with this product. This can filler has a built-in gas regulator. Right now, I'm going to show you how to adjust that so you never have to fool with it again. Okay, so we're going to set the purge for a long purge. So we'll go enter in the fill section, select the can I want to fill, that's the 330. Hit enter, and I already have it set at 30 seconds of purge. You would hit enter to save it. Now we're going to go back and back and back all the way out, and I'm going to show you how to adjust the gas flow. All right, so first thing, I'm going to manually just put some water in for this example into the cup by pushing the solenoid up here. I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to pop and just let it dangle right here. There's a regulator right here, kind of hard to see. That's going to let me adjust the gas flow. So I have this adjusted about where I want it. So right now you can see it's bubbling, and I'm going to, as I twist the screwdriver here, I can adjust the flow. I personally think that is adequate. Something like that's excessive. I think right in there is a pretty good run rate for the gas personally. All right, so that is how you set up the pressure on the can filler. It's super simple and really easy, and you should only have to do it once. Now you can pretty much hook up any pressure you want to it. Obviously, if you go too crazy, it's not going to be good, but if you have it's set around 10 or 15 psi, 11 psi, wherever you're serving, that pressure is going to be just fine, and you'll actually be putting out a lower volume, lower pressure, purging cans. It's something simple that Kegland has definitely done right. One of the other most innovative features about this filler, I think, is this pinch valve. It is accessible from the front. Right now, I'm going to show you how it works, show you how to clean it, so when you get yours, you know what to do. Liquid side in, the beer beverage side in. So there is one of these very familiar Kegland ball locks. It's got an opening here in the front, so this guy just screws in and out. You can slide in that L, which is that slip fitting on there, and slip a silicone tubing in. This is really handy for cleaning. So in order to get this out, you simply, with no pressure in this obviously, depress the pinch solenoid here and pull it out, trying to hide it with my fan, but that's it. Now it's out. You can go ahead and you would just pull this fitting apart here, like so, and get that off, or just run PBW through it. And then also you could slip it off the top here, good amount of seal with that so it doesn't come flying off under pressure. Be warned, under pressure, these could fly off, so definitely want to be mindful of that. To get this back in, I like to kind of push the solenoid down and just give it a little stretch. And that will stretch it so it comes in and out. You just give it a little tug and then reset it, get it all on there nice and straight, and you're good to go. The gas is similar in the fact that it just pulls on and off. Can also be taken on and off for cleaning. There's one other benefit of the pinch valve, and that's if you do need to top off a can slightly, if for whatever reason you had some issues with foaming, just depress that pinch valve and you'll be able to manually put in some beer without having to touch any of the controls or start another fill or mess around. It's super convenient. One of the other really cool features is this admittedly small screen, but it definitely stands out in the can filler world. So the screen, it is in itself kind of small, but it is just enough really to be able to get connected to Wi-Fi and to be able to set some key parameters. It's pretty similar with the RAPT kind of navigation through here. This is the back button. On this main screen, that's going to let you cycle through all the different presets, the size can you want. That's the big can, 1,000, and They're easier to see once it's not highlighted on camera, so that's for a 500. That's an offset number I've been messing around with, just testing out different stuff. And here is the current fill count. That's 157 fills that I've done thus far. To get into the main menu, just hit enter. And again, you go through and select all the device calibration, diagnostics, about. Super straightforward. If you're used to the RAPT ecosystem, this is going to be very, very normal to you. One other feature that you may think is not super critical or noteworthy or worth me spending a little section of the video on is the fill platen. I've been using the term can filler a lot, and technically it is, I suppose, a can filler, but this adjustable platen will allow you to put all sort of size bottles, wine bottles, beer cans, beer bottles on this filler. I think it makes it really useful and really versatile. Right now I'm going to show you how to adjust the platen height, as well as the best way to rock a can into this can filler. So in order to adjust the fill platter here, there's 2 thumb screws here on the side. Back those off just ever so slightly, and just behind it there's also another nut and bolt to keep everything a little tighter. So adjust it to your desired height to fit whatever you want underneath this guy on the tray. Lock it back in place. For a standard can, the large cans all the way up to the top seems to be adequate for a fill height for me. When you get the can in, you want to rock it to the side so it can come in from the bottom, up and back. And that's how you get a can in and out. When adjusting these tubes, you want them just basically as low as you can get them and be able to get a can in and out of this guy as easily as possible. This can filler is designed to be mounted flat on a surface or on a wall. At first, I wasn't thrilled about this decision. I liked maybe other ideas of using an arm or something like that, but I found a really clever solution that I think works really, really well. So check out how I did it. Now mine is mounted to the side of my Cannular Pro on 4 strong magnets. They are quite strong, and it's a piece of scrap MDF. I'm gonna try and pop this off here in real time for you if I can. It's really on there. I put a little tape on it because I did get a couple scratches. Yeah, it's super simple, and it will stick to anything metal really, really well. As you can see, it's not going to go anywhere once you get this guy on here. Really convenient for filling. As far as filling side, I think I would have it on the same side as the controls on the canning machine. It's here just for video purposes. Just so you guys get an idea of one way to mount this. Right out of the box, I highly recommend that you calibrate your filler. This is how you do it. All right, so if we look at my calibration setup, roughly real quick, I have the Core 360 regulator here on the SodaStream bottle, one of the PET 4-liter Kegland kegs, obviously the tapping kit that sold with it, as well as a bunch of the duo-type fittings and the EVA barrier tubing connected to it. Pulling CO2 off of the regulator I usually use to carbonate the RAPT fermentation chamber directly behind us. I've done this part off camera, but basically from the bottom of this tube here all the way to the top, to this line, about the top of that line, I tried to make a little V like you're supposed to get the center. That is 100 millimeters. Luckily, I have a tape measure that has millimeters, made it simple for me being in the US. Hopefully Kegland will change the software eventually when it's released, so it'll convert to Freedom units, but I was able to measure that out, and I am confident that is precise. So that's the first step for calibration. You need to know a known distance on this tube, because the size of the cup or glass or can or whatever can be infinitely large. It doesn't know how big that is, but it knows how much basically air is displaced, pushed back up through this as you add liquid to it, and that's how you calibrate. Now with the mug installed, we're going to go into the menu. We're going to go down to calibrate, and this is already calibrated, but we're going to hit enter again. It pushed some gas out. Now we're going to fill up to 100 mils, and this needs to be pretty precise. So get it where you're competent. You see the numbers here stabilizing, then hit enter, and I have just saved my calibration. And We're right here at about 100 mils. Now the canner knows exactly what's going on, and that's how you calibrate it. On the very tippy top of my unit, again, it's early model, early days here, people. It has a little grommet with a little plug in it. I believe this to be a pass-through for a temperature sensor. And that temperature something is that in Kegland's video, Key alluded that they may do, and I think that brings a really interesting functionality and really broad appeal to this, and potentially even easier operation. So you've seen me calibrate it with water and put that into a glass. I also recommend calibrating the first time around with water into a can. You're just not wasting product. Filling cans is always messy. So it's just one of those things that water does make things less messy, but water doesn't always perform the exact same way as beer does. So keep that in mind. And many things do contribute to canning a beverage, especially one that is carbonated. And the number one thing I would say is probably temperature. If you are canning, you want the keg as cold as possible. I like to can somewhere just above freezing if I can, to make sure that all that CO2 that's in there stays in suspension. If it's warmer, it's gonna come out of suspension more readily. So keep that in mind. And also is pressure on the keg. Right now, its current setup, if you have too much serving pressure, you'll have too much velocity, and that will create some turbulence in the canner itself. Furthermore, you can actually take apart the ball locks and maybe just run direct. That ball lock, the poppet valve, could create some turbulence as well. In my examples, guys, I just did this just to show you how it works, and I didn't dial it in perfectly. I'll be honest, I'm using some extremely old beer. It's really, really carbonated. I have the temperature down low, but again, this wouldn't be my first choice, but this is how it goes pretty much. It's super simple once you're adjusted. You just hit the button and you'll hear the purge come on, and it's gonna purge the air from the can, and that's a set time that you have basically chosen from zero. You know, I've had it as high as 30 seconds for calibration, like you said, and it purges and then it will fill. And it's that simple. Again, temperature is critical to get a good fill, and then just put it into the canner and let it go. Seam your can. You should be good to go with a nicely packaged can. Always remember, obviously, capping on foam is critical. Also, filling a can is pretty critical. You don't want to necessarily go all the way to the tippy top of the can. This is going to result in maybe a messy open, a little spray when you open. You don't want to be too low and you don't want to be too high, but you do not necessarily want straight liquid all the way to the top. All in all, did I find this easy to use and intuitive? Well, yes, especially if you're used to the RAPT ecosystem. The button controls will all come back to you if you're using a Brewzilla or a RAPT temperature controller. All that stuff is kind of all in the same vein. The screen is kind of small, but you really need it for connecting to Wi-Fi and adjusting a few parameters. One last thing I left out on the fill platen here, it does have 4 holes. I do believe these holes are for a yet to be released, some sort of a collection tray or drip tray, if you will, because like I said earlier, canning does make a mess. Filling cans makes a mess. So anything you can do to catch drips makes everything so much easier. I will be honest, at this point in time, the software does have some bugs. It is pretty nearly dialed in. Mine sometimes seems to not want to fill if it doesn't have Wi-Fi signal. Again, my Wi-Fi out here in the brewery is pretty good. All my other RAPT stuff works well. This guy does sometimes have trouble connecting. I'm sure this is something that Kegland is working on. I let them know. Little bugs I found here and there. But again, this is why this product isn't widely available yet. It's pretty much only available in Australia. I'm lucky enough to have it because I'm Bradley. If you've been thinking about or waiting for this product, I honestly do think there is something to it. And at this point, I can't wait to get the final software and everything fully dialed in. I really think this is a next level filling device. It is a single place filler, which is obvious. I don't know if I noted that earlier, but that's one thing to consider. If you need to be filling multiple cans at the highest speed, a dual place filler or 2 of these side by side would be more likely ideal in that scenario. But for a one-man operation, if you're canning 5 gallons, which I usually, honestly anymore, I'm only canning if I want to bring beer long distance and I don't want to bring one of the 2-liter Oxybar mini kegs, or now the 4-liter, or sorry, the 8-liter Oxybars, and the 4-liter Oxybars, the 1 and 2 gallon kegs. Those are super convenient, but you know, canning is still really cool. It has its place in my brewery. So this is something to check out. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Bradley. Remember, home brewing is good, and I'll see you real soon.